Woo! You made it to the first time homebuyer webinar with Kaylee Miller. Here we are. Hey y'all, my name is Kaylee Lynn Miller. I'm one half of the Property Wives. We're a real estate team here in Northern Colorado. And my wife and I love making real estate fun and accessible and empowering to people who often don't feel educated enough or rich enough or connected enough for homeownership to be accessible to them. And we are here to change that. So I'm so grateful you're here, and I can't wait to give you just a broad overview, super quick, of the home buying process. And then you can book a call with us if you think we're a good fit, no matter where you are in the country, so that we can set up an individualized call and understand more about you, your dreams, your goals, and your unique steps that you will need to take from where you are to buying your dream home, even if that's your first home. And yeah, so I'm just gonna jump right in and keep this as quick as possible to respect your time, all right? So my amazing drawings here that you can barely see, you can just see my nice little ring light, is blue little U, and it says, I have a dream. Do you have a dream? Do you have a dream to own a home? If you don't, I don't know why you're watching this, but if you do, you're in the right place. Because this little pink one here with her pink curly hair is me, and I say, I want to help your dream come true. It brings me so much joy to meet someone, to hear their story, to understand their dynamics, their family, what they need, what they want, and then also to understand their roadblocks and their hurdles and their insecurities and their fears and their doubts and the reasons they think they can't buy a home, even though they dream of it. And I love helping people overcome those and create a plan that is unique to you and your family and your goals. It brings me so much joy. So let's jump in. The first step from getting to where you are, having a dream, to closing and having your own dream house, my dream house is pink, your dream house can be whatever it is one, decide that you want to buy a home. Because you know what? That's actually not a goal for everyone. I have friends who their priority, especially in this phase of life, is travel. They don't want a mortgage. They don't want to have to pay for someone to come take care of their house when they travel. They don't want that. They want to come stay in hotels for a week or two at a time and then go travel the world. But if you're here, you most likely do have a dream of owning a home. And so you've decided, hey, I want to buy a home. I'm going to start educating myself on how. So congrats. You're halfway through step number one. The other part of step number one is get educated. What does it take for me to get a home? You know, there's so much information out there, lots of misinformation out there as well. And congrats. You're all the way through step one. You've decided you want to buy a home, and you're here on this webinar getting educated on what it takes to buy your first home. So give yourself a little happy dance, like give yourself a round of applause wherever you are. You're already doing great. So here we go, next to step two. And people often get step two and step three confused, but that's okay because they work very closely together. Step two is to find a lender and get a pre-approval. And I can't really see it, but it says step two, get pre-approved. What a pre-approval is a lender at a bank or at a different type of lending institution will look at all of your files. So they're gonna get a little personal. They're gonna look at your bank accounts. They're gonna look at your income, your credit score, your pay stubs, your W-2s, your tax returns, all of that kind of information. And then they're also gonna look at your debt to income ratio. So your income is what's coming in every single month from your job, from investments, from anything, income that's coming into you. And then your debts are money you have to pay out every single month, no matter what. So it's not like how often you stop at Starbucks or how much you eat out, but that's your hard set bills, your car payments, your car insurance, your health insurance, these bills that you need to pay no matter what. Because what they're trying to figure out is what's called your debt to income ratio. So if you have $10,000 coming in and you're only paying out $4,000 every month, you've got a good debt to income ratio. If you have $5,000 coming in and you're paying out $4,500 a month, that's a pretty tight debt to income ratio. You only have $500 of wiggle room every single month. So if your current rent within that amount that you're paying out is less than a mortgage payment would need to be. Like, that's pretty tight. So we need to do some work to help create a bigger margin or to do some other things so that we can get you pre-approved for a mortgage. But that's kind of what they're looking at, is they're trying to figure out what is your debt to income ratio, right? So that's the first thing that they're gonna look at. And then they're gonna look at your purchasing power. So how much based on your income could you get pre-qualified for? So that's saying this is how much money we will give you in order to buy a house. That's what a pre-qualification is. It's when you say, this is how much money I make and this is how much I pay in bills. And they'll say, based on that information, we can give you X amount of money. And then you move to, and that's okay. But me as a realtor, I've seen too many people get pre-qualified, which means you just told them something, so they told you a number, but not pre-approved, which when you're pre-approved, it means you didn't just tell them this is how much income I make. You actually uploaded documentation of pay stubs and W-2s. So they have confirmation that is actually how much income you have coming in. And then they also can look at your bank statements that they have confirmation of how much money is actually leaving your accounts every single month. And really good lenders will put it through a process called underwriting. So the goal is to get a pre-approval that's already gone through underwriting with your lender, okay? And if you need help with that, if you need lender recommendations all across the country, set up a consultation call. We'll learn more about you, what your goals are, what your needs are, and we will connect you to a lender and a realtor wherever you are. If you're local, I'm your girl. I want to work with you. But if you're not, I know the internet's so cool, so we can work with you anywhere and help connect you with someone that we know, like, and trust. So you want to get a pre-approval that's already gone through underwriting. That is the strongest document you can have when you submit an offer. So the next thing you want after a pre-approval from a lender that tells you how much home you can shop for, the next thing is you want to find a realtor. It's in pink. Can you guess why? In Northern Colorado, I want to be a realtor. And so you want to find a realtor. And if you find a realtor first, most people think of, I want to buy a house. Realtors help me buy homes. So they find a realtor first, and then they go look at homes, and they haven't talked to a lender, and their realtor doesn't force them to get a pre-approval because it's kind of awkward, and you don't want to force grown adults to do things that they don't want to do. But then this is what happens. You're house hunting, which is actually step 4, but many people go house hunting at step 1, and then you know what happens, and it's really sad. And that's why I'm really obsessed with education, and that's why I'm creating this ridiculous over-the-top webinar for you, is they fall in love with a house they can't afford. And you just wasted a whole bunch of your time. And you just wasted a whole bunch of your realtor's time. No one loves that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Get a pre-approval, get with your realtor, and then go home shopping, okay? Okay, so now we're at step 4. You've decided you're gonna buy a home. You've gotten some education. You've gone to a lender. You've given them your documentation. You've gotten a underwritten pre-approval, which means, yes, we've double checked. We've even verified your employment. We know that what you said is true. So when you find the house of your dreams, your realtor can write you up an offer. We submit the pre-approval letter saying, hey, we actually know these people can buy your home. And then the seller's like, great, I want them to buy my home. And it's amazing. So you find a realtor, and then you go house hunting so that you actually know what you can afford. You've signed a contract with your realtor so that they know you're gonna work with them, you know you're gonna work with them, you build a relationship of trust with that lender and that realtor, and then you go house hunting. Once you are house hunting, we already know what you're looking for, we know what your finances are, we know your needs, your wants, your desires, your specialty things, all of it. So your house hunting process is much shorter, much more effective, much more enjoyable, because you're not driving through 6 different cities, seeing houses you're never gonna buy out of price points you can't afford, right? Like, at first it sounds like that might be fun, but let me tell you this, after watching so many people fall in love with houses that then they can't afford, it's not fun for anyone. It's not fun. It's not fun. So get a pre-approval. I can connect you to lenders all over the country. Just get one. And then find a realtor. I can connect you. I got you. And then go house hunting. It's so freaking fun. I love my job. And then once you find the house you're gonna love, your realtor is gonna write an offer. And I want you to know this also, as an educated home buyer, and not all realtors are created equal, and not all realtors are gonna educate you that the listing price on a home isn't automatically the price you have to offer them. Everything in real estate is up for negotiations. It's pretty cool. So the house is $500,000, but it's been on the market for 32 days. I'm gonna tell my clients, I think we should offer a little less than that, and I think we should ask for a seller credit. A seller credit is something I'll talk about in a different video at some point, but basically it's a credit that the seller gives you so that then you can buy down your interest rate, or you can put it towards closing costs, depending on your loan and your circumstances. Talk to your lender about that. But you don't always just have to offer what they're asking. If it's a competitive situation, you think a lot of other people are gonna be offering, you should. You should offer, ask, or sometimes even above if you really wanna get it and you know it's a multiple offer situation. Every situation, again, is different, and that's why it really matters that you have a good lender and a good realtor. Another thing that matters at this offer stage of having a good lender, not just a good realtor, is one, your realtor should be calling the listing agent of that home. So when someone lists a home, there's a seller, right? And then there's a listing agent. So they sit on this side of the house. And then there's a buyer and a buyer's agent. So for the purposes of this video, I can represent both, but for the purposes of this video, if you're buying a home, I would be your buyer's agent. So it is my job, when you love a house, I am gonna call that listing agent and say, hey, my name's Kaylee, I have a client, they love your home, it's so beautiful, it's amazing, we can't wait to bring you an offer. Tell me a little bit about your sellers, tell me about their situation, what do they need? Do they need a quick close? Do they need a long close? Do they need a post-closing occupancy? All of those terms you don't really need to know right now, but what you do need to know is that your realtor should be communicating with the listing agent, because in that offer, in Colorado, it is like 30 plus pages. There's a lot of things in there. And there's a lot of different levers you can pull in negotiation. And the reality is you don't just need to put in an offer of a price point. There's a lot of different things that can make your offer stronger than someone else's. For instance, a pre-approval that's already gone through underwriting, and you have a lender that will call the listing agent and tell them that, say, hey, I've looked at their financials, they're super solid. There's no reason that this deal would fall out because of financing, because a lot of deals do fall out because of financing because they didn't do those steps properly in the beginning. And that's a really big headache for the sellers and the listing agent. So for a listing agent to have a lender call them and say, hey, we're good to go. To have a realtor call them and say, hey, I want to work with you. We're so excited. What can we give you? We want this to be a win-win situation. I'm negotiating for your betterment and on your behalf as your buyer's agent. I have a fiduciary responsibility to do what is best for you as my buyer, not for me, not for the seller, not for my brokerage, not for my lender, not for anyone else. But me playing nice with the agent on the other side is part of that. And so part of why I tell you this is sometimes there's this idea that the most intense, aggressive, rude agent is who you should go with because they're going to negotiate for you the best. Maybe they might, but this is still a game of human relationships at the end of the day. Real estate is absolutely a who you know, not what you know. But I guarantee you're going to want who you know and who you pick to work with, that they know what they're talking about and that they know what they're doing and that they have people skills. Because it matters. I'll tell you what, I have truly had listing agents tell me that because of the extra work I put in to get to know them, get to know the seller situation, I put things in my offer and the way I communicated with them, they were like, you know what, this is gonna be a better group of people to work with. They're already communicating. They already have a pre-approval that's gone through underwriting. They have a lender that is already communicating with me. Their finances are solid and they called to ask what you need. They're already offering you to have a post-closing occupancy. So you can buy your new home, move into it, and then be out of this one, but you have the money. That's what's really cool about a post-closing occupancy. What it means is that if I'm in an apartment and I want to buy this home and they're buying a new build house that they want to move into, but they need the money from me buying this house before they can go buy that house. So I'm gonna do what's called a post-closing occupancy agreement. So in a sense, I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna buy the house from you, but I'm gonna give you 10 days after to move all your stuff into your new house. And you're gonna be able to get the funds and then pay for your new house and then move into your new house and then I'll move into this house, right? Doesn't that sound great? So just little things like that a lot of people just don't know. They don't know that they can ask for it. And a lot of realtors don't educate a lot of people about all the things that they can ask for. And so it's just important. It's important who you work with, and ask them questions about different things, or reach out to us and let us connect you with someone that we trust, know, like, and believe in, that they will actually take really good care of you. So after you write your offer, there's often what's called, so you submit a contract in Colorado. We don't just have offer letters, we have actual contracts. So we submit a contract, and then they can do what's called counter. So if they counter, we say, hey, we're offering you $500,000 with a $10,000 seller credit. They might counter and say, awesome, we will accept this at $500,000 and we'll give you a $5,000 credit. So that's what's called a counter proposal. And then you as the buyer either sign that counter proposal and you say, okay, and then we're all under contract, or you can walk away, or you can renegotiate. So once again, there's a lot of negotiation here. It's not always just cut and dry. There's steps and processes that can be done. So if you're like, hey, I want to offer $30,000 less, listen to your realtor. Sometimes it's not great, but you also get to have the say at the end of the day. Like, there's times where I'll tell my clients, like, hey, in this market, I don't necessarily think that's a good idea because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to put that in writing. But I work for you. Like, I work for you. My whole sole job as a realtor is to advocate for you, educate you, defend you, like, negotiate on your behalf, write contracts for you, protect you, and help you get the best deal that you want at the end of the day. So if you send your realtor homes and they're like, I'm not going to show you that one because I don't think you're going to like it, get a new realtor. Like, if you ask your realtor to put in a contract for something that you really want to put in a contract for, they have a right to educate you. That's also what you're paying us for, is for our expertise in the area. But they should also be willing to do it, or you should find another realtor because they work for you. And so you also just might have to understand that if you lowball them and someone else gets it, that's not your realtor's fault. But if you're okay taking the swing and a miss, that's okay. And they should be able to write that for you, all right? So you have your offer, and then you have your negotiation period after you submit your offer. And then you go what's called under contract, right? So we're all in a contract saying, we're gonna buy your home for this amount, contingent on these things being done. And then you'll have a dates and deadline section in your contract that will give you all these dates. The first dates are title dates normally. And the title companies exist to make sure that there's not what's called a cloud on your title. For the most part, it just means that no one else has ownership rights to the home you're buying, and no one owes money on the house that you're buying that once you buy it, you would owe that money. So we want to make sure we have a free and clear title. That's what title will do. The next dates we want to look at are inspection dates. So that's having a professional come into the house you want to buy, look it over head to toe, roof to sewer. Always get a sewer scope. Not all inspectors or realtors will tell you to. I think you always should. Always get an inspection. When you're buying new builds, sometimes I tell my clients to get an inspection around like the 8-month period because they give you a warranty. So sometimes it's actually better to just be like, okay, I'm gonna move into my house. I know I have a warranty with a builder. And then at 8 months, I'm gonna write out all the things that have broken that would be fixed by warranty. I'm gonna submit a ticket. They're gonna come fix them all. Sometimes that's a good idea. But if it's before you buy, if it's a pre-built home, always get an inspection before you buy. Because if something comes up that's $40,000 to fix and the seller's not gonna fix it, do you still wanna buy that house? Probably not. Maybe, but that gives you an out, so you can get out. Why that matters is because once you go under contract, you normally have, in Colorado, you have 3 days after an MEC, mutually executed contract. So what that means is that the buyers have signed, the sellers have signed, and both agents have signed, saying we are all on the same page of us moving forward with this party buying this party's house under these conditions written out in the contract, right? Then the buyer will have 3 days to submit what's called earnest money. It's often seen as a good faith deposit, saying, hey, I actually intend to buy your home. And we are gonna go through an inspection, we're gonna go through an appraisal, and we're gonna do other things that I'll talk about later once you are looking at a contract with us. But the inspection and the appraisal are their two biggest ticket items that need to pass after title. And then I will buy your house. And if you back out at any of the dates in your contract for those reasons, so if we get to inspection and there's an issue, we'll do what's called inspection objection, where I'll write up a document saying, hey, from our inspection, these are all the things the buyer needs fixed for them to continue down this path of buying your home. And then the seller gets to submit what's called an inspection resolution, which is a document saying, based on your objections, this is what we are willing to fix. Do you still want to move forward? And then the buyers get to decide, okay, we're okay with what they're willing to fix, we'll move forward. Or they can terminate and they will get their earnest money back. If you back out of your contract for no legal reason, for no dates or deadlines, when you've passed all your dates and deadlines, you have a right to back out of your contract. The seller is legally obligated, not obligated, but allowed to keep your earnest money for them taking their home off the market when it could have sold to someone else, but letting you do your due diligence and seeing if you were actually gonna buy the home. So a good realtor will also protect you by making sure you don't miss those dates and deadlines. And if anything does come up, they will submit a termination of the contract so that you can get your earnest money back. In Colorado, we also submit a release of earnest money funds, and then the title company will give the earnest money back to the buyer, and you can go back home shopping with your realtor to a home that doesn't have the issue of the reason why you canceled your contract. And I will tell you this, that might sound a little like, well, why would you ever do that? It's always better when you do. I'm not saying you should always do it, but I recently have had quite a few that were like, this is the house, we're submitting offers, Then we get to inspection, and there are things that come up on the inspection that the seller's not willing to fix, and the buyer is unwilling to buy the house in that condition. Therefore, we terminate the contract and we walked away. We gave them a week to kind of grieve, because it gets emotional when you're like, I can start envisioning my house, my life in this house, I can imagine my family in this house, I can imagine bringing home our babies to this home, and then something comes up and you can't buy the home. Like, it's kind of heartbreaking. And so I always tell my clients, like, take a week, process your emotions, and then let's jump back on it. Every single time something goes wrong or bad on a deal, it's because something better was waiting for them. Every single time. Oh my goodness. I have a client who just closed, and I have a client closing next month, and that happened to both of them. And we were like, our offer didn't get accepted, or like, we can't find a mutual ground, so we're having to terminate. And it was like such a bummer. And then the houses they're buying are so much better than the last houses they were gonna buy. So I think this job and this process also always reminds me that, like, there's always something better. If not this, something better. So remember that. If not this, something better. So if you really like a house, but it's not the right time, or it's not the right price, or you can't negotiate something, if not this, something better. It always happens. And so you'll offer, negotiate, you'll go through inspection, and then you'll go through appraisal. So remember how we talked about the lenders giving you money for your mortgage? You're gonna do a promissory note or a deed of trust saying, I promise I will pay you this back. Thank you for buying the home. And you're gonna pay it back in the form of a mortgage. They're gonna wanna make sure that if they're lending you $500,000 for this dream home of yours, that this house is actually worth $500,000. Because the reason they're lending it to you isn't because they're nice people and like giving money away for free, although I wish that was the truth. It's because they're a business, and they're gonna give you the money to buy the house. And then you're gonna not only pay them back the money, but you're gonna pay them back interest. So that's what interest rates are. So if you're paying them 3% interest, like people who bought in COVID are, that's amazing, because you're only paying them like, this is the amount of the house and this is how much more you're paying in interest. 6-7%, I bought at 7.2%. I'm paying this much of the value of the house and this much in interest back to the bank. So the bank gave you this much and they're walking away with this much. So they're making money. But if you can't pay your bills, or if you just decide to stop paying your mortgage, the bank or the financial institution that gave you that mortgage will come and do what's called a foreclosure on your home. They will take the home back from you and they will list it on the market so someone else will come buy it from them and they can pay off that debt that they gave you if you cannot make payments on your mortgage. And so this is why it's also really important to not just find a realtor and a lender who want to make the most money and get you pre-approved for the highest amount. We want to talk about your monthly payment and your overall financial goals and your financial budget. What can you actually afford monthly to not be house broke? You don't want to be riding this line where you're like, I have $400 left over at the end of every month because my mortgage is so high. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I am a realtor telling you it is not worth buying a more expensive house that you can't then enjoy life. You can't go out to dinner with your friends when they're in town because you don't have money, because all of your money you make go straight to your mortgage. Don't do it. Buy a smaller house, buy a starter home, buy a fixer-upper and fix it up as you go. Or wait, rent another year and work with us to create a plan to raise your credit score and create savings and do different things. And let me help you start a business because I love businesses and we run like 4 different businesses. If you ever want to talk about business, I love it. These sparkles are great, but my hair gets stuck in them. Anyway, sorry, I went on a tangent. Don't buy the most expensive house that you can buy. When someone says you are pre-approved for this amount, I very rarely recommend that you buy a house at that amount. I want you to then ask, awesome, thanks. I'm glad I'm pre-approved for $650,000. What would that make my monthly payment with today's current interest rates and the programs that you're offering me? If it's conventional, if it's FHA, if it's VA, whatever the loan is. There's different loan types. That can be a different video. But you want to ask them, what will my monthly payment look like? Send them a house you like from Zillow to the lender and say, hey, you've given me a pre-approval. What would my monthly payments breakdown at this price point look like? And they should give you a breakdown of it. And then look at your budget. Does that make you house poor? Don't buy it. Look cheaper, find another house you like and say, $650 wasn't really where I monthly want to be. I found this $500,000 house. Lender, can you give me what that would look like in my monthly payment? That gives us a lot more breathing room. We can put money away for vacations. We can put money away for our future. We can put money away for kids, whatever it is. And then start looking for houses in that price point because you don't want to be foreclosed on. But, wow, sorry, that was a really long tangent in this home buying seminar. The appraisal is the bank saying, hey, if I'm lending you $500,000 for this house, I want to make sure it's actually worth $500,000. So they hire a third-party person who isn't in the favor of us, isn't in the favor of the buyer, isn't in the favor of anyone except for them saying, yeah, based on recent comps in the area, based on the value and the condition of the home, based on the rebuild purchase price, based on a lot of different things, different appraisers do different methods, but they will go back to the lender and say, yep, it's worth $500,000. If they go back to the lender and say, it's worth $450,000, then we again have to renegotiate the deal because you're no longer getting a loan for $500,000 from a bank if the appraiser says that this home is only worth $450,000. So there's a few things. You can contest the appraisal. You can go back to the seller and say, your house isn't worth $500,000 in the eyes of this appraiser or the bank. So are you willing to come down in price to $450,000? These are some drastic numbers. Normally it's not like $50,000. And if they say yes, awesome, you renegotiate that. If they say no, then you have to figure some things out. You can either contest the appraisal, try to get the appraisal to come up, try to get the lender to give you more money for the house, even though the appraiser says it's not worth that much money, or you will come out of pocket for what's called an appraisal gap, which means if they're only going to give you $450,000 and the house is $500,000 and the seller is not willing to come down, you then need to cover that difference as the buyer. Sometimes you can do it. Sometimes you can't. You need to walk away from the deal. But remember, if you ever have to walk away from a deal, it's because something better is coming. All right, we're so close. Once you pass the appraisal, the lender is going to run all of your information again, including your credit score. So you might think you're done once your appraisal passes and we're like, oh, we're all good to go. We just need the clear to close from the lender. Do not listen to me. If you take anything away from me, do not go buy furniture, take out a loan, do not go buy a new car, do not sign a lease, do not co-sign for anyone on anything. Because within 3 days of your loan closing and you buying a home, they will pull your credit again. And if your debt to income ratio has changed too drastically, or if your credit score has dropped too drastically, you may no longer qualify for this loan. That sucks. And too many people aren't educated on that enough. They're like, well, they ran my credit here, and it took us 4 months to buy a house. So yeah, I went out and bought a new car. And yeah, once we bought the house, we went to Furniture Row and we got a Furniture Row credit card and we put a bunch of furniture on it. Then we went to American Furniture Warehouse and we put a bunch of furniture on a credit card so that by the time we close, it can all be moved into our house. That's great in theory. Please don't do it. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Because then you don't get to go to the final step. And the final step's so fun. The final step is closing. You go crank your hand out, you sign a whole bunch of papers because people sued a bunch of people at one time and now you have to sign a paper for everything. Really, they're all just a bunch of papers saying you're willing to pay the loan you're taking out and that you're not gonna do things in the home you shouldn't be doing in the home. And then you get the keys and you're a homeowner. You did it. Obviously, that is a super, super fast, super quick, super silly overview of the home buying process. But if any of it resonated with you, if you felt educated by any of it, if you felt inspired by any of it, reach out to us. Schedule a link below in the comments or in the email that you'll get after watching this if you're on the webinar and not on YouTube to speak with us. And again, like I said, if you're finding us online and you're not moving to Northern Colorado, that's okay. Still reach out to us if you like our energy or if you're in the queer community or if you're a woman and you just want someone looking out for you. We have a network all over the country and actually a lot in Canada too, if you're watching this from Canada and Costa Rica, that we are building relationships with and vetting them. And so we will understand your story and then we'll look at our list and then we'll reach out to lenders and realtors that we believe would be a good fit for you to advocate for you. And then they're held accountable to follow up with us on how your experience went. And we also want you to follow up with us. Come back to the Property Wife, send us a message, let us know, good and bad. If we refer someone and they don't treat you right, or they don't respect you, or they don't negotiate for you, they don't ask these questions, they don't educate you, any of that, please let us know because we don't want to refer another soul that trusts us to someone like that. Or I just want to educate them a little bit better about how they could have served you better. I want to create a vast network of people that are helping specifically the queer population, the BIPOC population, the Hispanic population, and women, especially single women and single moms, become homeowners. I am so passionate about that because they are typically the marginalized people groups that aren't being educated, aren't being advocated for, aren't being protected the way they deserve to be. And we've helped a lot of families with specifically trans children move here for safety. And it is so deeply important to us to protect these families and queer individuals that are moving here from states that they don't feel safe, and people that are just moving here because maybe you're not queer, maybe you're not trans, maybe you're not one of these populations, but you're not okay with watching these populations be treated bad. Like, we'd love to work with you too. And if you don't love us, please don't reach out because we're not interested in working with you either. Like, I genuinely have no problem saying that. There are plenty of rich white guys teaching a whole bunch of rich white guys how they can build wealth. That's okay, that's great. I'm so glad they are. And if you're a rich white guy who actually cares about other people and you want to work with us, amazing. But I just want you to know that if you are in the queer community, the Hispanic community, the BIPOC community, Indigenous individuals, the queer community, like, you are who we care about the most. All over the country, we have an entire queer network across the country supporting people, an entire Hispanic network. We have Hispanic lenders. We have a whole team, and we just want to help you achieve your dreams. So once again, my name is Kaylee Miller. I'm one half of the Property Wives. My wife Riley will be on other stuff with me in the future, but I just wanted to film this and get it out to you quickly so that more people could feel educated and empowered on homeownership, and schedule a call with us so we can make your unique individual path to homeownership.